Hello everyone, and welcome to this segment of today's event. My name is Christina Shoname, and best believe I am with you in this moment. Let me take a moment to say a big thank you to the organizers and leaders for inviting me to speak on the topic of discourse for today. I'd like to also acknowledge every speaker and panelist that has gone ahead of me in today's event. You know, there are a lot of lessons to learn from nature. Life lessons, career lessons. One of such lessons brings to mind the concept of farming and how there is a season for planting. There's a season for plowing the ground that even precedes planting. There's a season to water the ground, there's a season to tend to the plant, and there's a season for harvest. There are specific things that must happen in each of these seasons to ensure that the process actually yields the desired outcome of a bountiful harvest. This brings to mind Jesus speaking in the Bible when he said, "We must work, or I must work while it is day, for the night comes when no one can work." This tells me that there are seasons in our career as well. There's a time to work. There's a time to sit back and enjoy the reward of your work. Now, if you are interested in accelerating your career growth, you must give yourself to an understanding of career seasons so that, like the farmer, you can give to each season what it requires to ensure that you get a bountiful harvest. So in this case, you arrive at your desired destination as far as impact and influence is concerned in your career. In my book, Dear Young Professional, Practical Insights for Accelerated Career Growth, I speak about 4 career seasons that every career professional should understand and know how to leverage: the apprentice, the experienced, the master, and the authority. Now, each of these seasons can happen progressively or in multiple cycles on your career journey. It's important to mention at this point that there's a difference between your job and your career. You do a job, you build a career. To build your career, you will do jobs, but you can do jobs and not build a career for lack of intentionality. You know, when you talk about building a career, this also brings to mind the analogy of a building, an edifice. When building an edifice, you start out with an idea of where you are going with this project, what it's going to look like at the end. And then you draft a plan and begin to approach the project phase after phase, from the foundation all the way up. The kind of structure you are trying to put up has a major influence on the kind of foundation you build at the beginning of that project. It's the same with your career. You may start out unclear about a lot of details, but an important question to ask yourself as you continue on your journey, and I say continue because it's a question to keep asking yourself, is what do I want? Where do I want to arrive with my career? What does the end look like for me? What does a successful career look like to me? The answer to that is different for different people. And that's why you must keep asking yourself that question as you journey, so that you can ensure you are moving in the direction or taking action today that can get you to where you desire to get to with your career. Let's get back to the conversation about seasons. The first, the apprentice. In that season, you are usually the greenhorn in the room. You've probably just completed your education or training, or even transition to a new career path. You are starting out, you have a lot of knowledge, or some good knowledge, but very few skills. At the experience level, you have started to gain a grasp of the skills that are required in your field or line of work. You have probably even started leading small teams or a few people in your organization. You have some experience because you've worked for some time, which is why it's called the experienced season. The next season is the master season. And in this season, you're talking about expertise, career specialization, executive leadership, What do these mean? You have gone from a generalist to building specialty in your field of work. Specialty looks like going from being an email marketer to being a welcome email sequence specialist. It looks like going from being a general practitioner to being a pediatric oncologist. Do you see? This is really about getting a grasp. I haven't gained a grasp of the field, the knowledge, the industry. You then decide to focus on a particular niche or a particular audience or a specific line of work in that niche and become a master there. Mastery is closely linked to expertise that is specific, and this is what that season is about. By executive leadership in master season, we mean that you have probably started to participate in strategic conversations and contributing to the strategic direction of a team or the organization. Next, we move to the authority season. In this season, you are an industry leader. Your actions, your contributions become a reference point for an industry and even for nations. You have grown to a level where we are counting on you to give us direction for our industry because of the level of expertise you have practiced over an extended period of time or the depth of knowledge and skill you have harnessed, thereby making you a leader in the industry. Now, I'm doing a good work to summarize the points that relate to each of these seasons just to help you gain a grasp of what it generally means. So from all I've shared, are you able to locate where you are right now in your career season? It's a good time to also mention that you may find yourself at the middle point of two seasons where you are exiting one season and getting into the next. And those are critical moments in your career. And this brings me to the next part of our conversation. What is important in each of these seasons? What should you be doing, like the farmer, to ensure that you get the most of the season and get into the next season on your journey to your desired outcome for the entire process of working or being in a career? Let me mention that there are many things you can be doing at every season. But in this video, I want to point your attention to some of the things that should be your primary focus in the season. Because in one season, something may be optional, whereas in another season, it is critical. Let's talk about the apprentice season. Remember, you are the greenhorn in the room. And we don't just solve problems with knowledge. We solve problems with skill. If, for example, you just graduated from school, you have a lot of knowledge, probably a lot of theoretical knowledge. In the workplace, what we need is not theory. We need practical. And the way you convert your knowledge to skill is with experience. You get your hands to work. So at the apprentice season, your primary focus should be placing yourself in systems, structures, and situations that give you an opportunity to convert your knowledge to skill. You are giving yourself to work opportunities that prioritize learning for you. What I mean by that is if you find yourself in a situation during your apprentice season where you have to pick between work opportunities, where one pays you more, but the other presents much more opportunity for growth and learning, you should really consider the one who gives you an opportunity to learn. Because this is your foundational season, and ultimately, the career you are building will rely a lot on what you did with your foundational years. The amount of knowledge and skill and experience, the quality of experience that you garnered in that season. So I'm saying to you, as an apprentice listening to me right now, one who is in the apprentice season, like the apprenticeship system practice, in the Igbo business system, which is today a case study in Harvard, that apprentice season is where you throw yourself into learning. And your most important skill in that season, I like to say, is being teachable. Because you will soon find out that there's quite a gap between what you learned in school and what the workplace needs for the purpose of solving real-time problems. And there is where your learning is critical. In this season, just like I've said, to wrap it up for the apprentice, your primary focus is learning and growing. Your primary focus, if you have to volunteer, please do. But you're better off doing something than doing nothing. One of the things I also like to highlight about the apprentice season is that in this season, you are usually trying to figure out your career, and it's tempting to spend too much time just trying to figure out your career. But let me let you know that the clarity you seek is on the road. What I mean by that is that you learn more or get a better understanding of your career path or your preferred career path by actually getting your hands to do something. So don't sit around just saying, oh, I'm trying to figure out my career path. You go and do something. Whatever something means, whether it's volunteering, it's helping out in your parents' business, it's taking up an internship role, and wherever you find yourself, whatever your hand finds to do, please do with the best of your might. Because in this phase, you are layering a foundation for your career. Let's move quickly to the experience season. In the experience season, you have to pay attention to professional networking, because at this point, you have some skill and you are ready perhaps for bigger opportunities, whether within your existing organization or in another. Now, I like to say that people are the gatekeepers of opportunity. So professional networking is important because whether it's in the decision room, where you can have someone speak for you within your organization, or it's out there in the world of work where you can have someone reach out to you and say, hey, there is this opportunity, are you interested? Either ways, you see people playing a critical role, and this is why professional networking is important in your experience season. It's also a time to begin to put some effort into visibility, because you need to be seen. The only way that people can know that, oh, I have some skill, you have some skill, you are ready for bigger opportunities, is that they can see it. I like to say that promotions are not just the reward for action, but they are also a reward for demonstrated potential. When we see that you have potential for the next level, we get you into that next level. But first, we must see that potential. And your responsibility is to see to it that you pay attention to being visible, both within your workplace and at some level within your industry. At the experience season, you're also giving attention to beginning to deepen your expertise, because ahead of you is a season where you probably want to begin to niche down and get into being a specialist. These are a few points, like I said, because we can't exhaust everything, but these are some areas you should focus on primarily in each of the seasons that we are talking about today. The goal of doing these things is to ensure that you make the most of that season as you get ready for the next season. When you do what you have to do, or you give to a season what it demands, it allows you ease into your next season very quickly and seamlessly. You will notice that so far, I haven't talked about length of years or months that should be spent on a particular level or in a particular season. And this is because it's really up to you. You have a say in how long you stay in a particular season, depending on how much of yourself you give to that season with intentionality. And the points I'm sharing with you are to enable you look into yourself and say, what must I be doing now so that I can get ahead quickly? Moving on, we talk about the master season. In this season, you are deepening expertise. You are a career specialist. You are doing executive leadership, like I said earlier. And so one of the critical things in this season is thought leadership. Thought leadership. This is the time when you want to begin to position yourself for your next season, where you are the authority and industry leader. So thought leadership is so critical at this point, whether it's by articles or it's by an active online presence, it's by speaking engagements. You need to shine that light brightly, because you have it, you are a master, but you need to then be intentional about projecting yourself as a thought leader. Remember, these are things you could have started earlier, but I'm telling you, in this season as a master, it is critical because you have expertise and you should be rewarded for your expertise, but that's often dependent on you being in the right rooms at the right time. And thought leadership will get you into certain rooms before you even get there yourself. So as a master, I say to you, give attention to thought leadership. That's so important. The other thing that is very important for a master is also leadership. Because in this season, you are leading from an executive level. You are a part of the strategic direction of companies. So you should invest in being a leader where you are and in your industry. You should start to take very important steps. You should focus a lot on investing in people, leading people, because now there is no contention about the existence of skill, but we want to see how that skill translates into scaling up businesses, scaling up practices, birthing products and services that can have an impact on your industry and in the marketplace. So a recap for the master: key focus, thought leadership. Of course, like I said, I'm not able to exhaust all points, but I'm able to mention very key ones during this conversation that you can run with right after listening to me. For a master, we're focused on thought leadership and leadership, leading people, leading self, leading on the job, leading businesses. Finally, we speak about the authority. In the authority season, remember, you are already an industry leader. What is important at this point is legacy. Actions that have to do with legacy, leaving your footprint on the sand of time, right? At this point, you are looking to build systems that others can plug into to have a career path or understand a framework for how things should be done in a particular space. So legacy building is so important at the authority phase because this is the climax of your career. You're probably already winding down in a particular phase of your career. You've hit the climax. People are looking up to you and you want to be intentional about building systems that ensure that the impact of your work, of your presence in the career world extends beyond the time that you actually spend working. Ladies and gentlemen, we've talked through 4 career seasons in these few minutes, and I have made an effort to summarize some of the things that are attributes of these seasons and some key focus areas in each season. Like I said earlier, the point here is this: you are supposed to be aware of the most important things for each season so that you can give yourself to it. Otherwise, you major on the minors and find yourself stuck even though it looks like you've done some things right. A typical example of that is someone who is in the apprentice season who is focused on personal branding. Trying to get a name, trying to make posts, trying to look good online, trying to label themselves an expert and all that. It's not a bad thing to invest in your personal brand that early, but it cannot be your primary focus and that goes over learning. Otherwise, you stand the risk of being like a product with a very nice package on the shelf, attractive, you look nice, we buy the product and go home and the content is poor. That's what happens when an apprentice focuses too much on personal branding and doesn't give enough attention to learning and growing as he or she should. I'm hopeful that with these points, you can reflect on what season you are and what's important for you to do in that season. Because like I shared, your ability to ace through each season empowers you and equips you to actually accelerate your career growth, where you arrive at certain points in your career earlier than expected or in shorter time. And why not? It's a time of the quick work anyway. So it's good for you to make the most of the time that you have and arrive at your desired destination. You could be transitioning right now and may find yourself stepping back a few seasons or something of that sort. Again, it doesn't mean that you are stuck on that season for a long time. You have a critical role to play to determine how long you spend in a particular season. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I look forward to an opportunity to interact more and hear your questions and answer them. But for starters, remember that just like with life and with farming and every other example we reflected on today, every season has its demands, and you must be intentional about giving to each season what it demands. You have my best wishes, and I look forward to connecting with you more. Thank you.